So good afternoon. Today is December 29th, 2017. I'm here today in Newberry, Michigan, and I have the pleasure of Rose Drum Fretz, who worked at the Consolidated Vultee Aircraft Corporation Company, Stinson Division in Wayne, Michigan. Conducting this interview is Lenore Bolthouse. How are you today, Rose?
Fine.
Fine? Feeling good? Nice holiday?
Yes.
Yeah.
Great.
Holidays are always fun, aren't
Yes.
they? Yes, they
Yes.
are. So, Rose, can you please tell me what your birth date is?
6/28/24.
So, 24. That makes you 93?
Yep.
93. You just had 93 in June.
Yes.
Okay. So you're 93 and a half, right?
Right.
There we go.
Yeah.
So, Rose, tell me, where were you born and raised?
I was born in Melvindale, Michigan,
Okay.
and I lived there until I was 2. And then we moved to Dearborn. That was during the Depression, tough times.
Uh-huh.
And then finally we moved to Detroit.
To Detroit. Okay. And what was your mom and dad's name?
My mother's name was Anna Frances Champier.
Champier. Okay. And what was dad's name?
And my father was Philip Drum.
Philip Drum. And what nationality is your mom and dad?
They're Austrian.
Austrian.
Yes.
Okay. So, how did Dad come here from Austria?
My father came here from Austria. How old was he? I think he was 22.
Okay.
And my mother was born in Trenton, New Jersey.
In Trenton, New Jersey.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Okay. What brought your father here to the United States?
It was the war. War was starting, and my grandmother didn't want any of her boys in Austria, and they saved their money so they could send them all to America. And his 2 brothers, Frank and Chris, came first, and they went to New Jersey, and they were carpenters.
Oh.
And then my father left home when he was only 12 to be a butcher's apprentice, and he came here, and he landed in Philadelphia, and he went to work for the Swifton Company, the meat packing company.
Okay.
And he worked there until his brothers sent him enough money to come to New Jersey, which wasn't very far from Pennsylvania, but anyway. And then when he got to New Jersey, he worked for my grandfather, my mother's father. He had a store, and he hired my dad because he was from the same town in Austria.
Oh, okay. Okay.
They kind of stuck together.
All of the nationalities kind of lived in the
Yes.
same area.
Yes.
Okay. That makes sense.
My dad could speak 6 languages.
6 languages.
Yeah, because he learned
Wow.
being a butcher.
Did you kids learn to pick up some of
We spoke German until my grandmother, my Oma, she died, and but we all spoke German.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. So Dad by trade then is a butcher.
Yes.
Okay. And so at some point he marries Mom. And what's Mom's name?
Anna Frances Champier.
Anna, I'm sorry. Yep,
Yeah.
that's right.
SCHOMPIER.
Okay. So, but Dad comes here and he's going to work for the same neighbor in the same town, which is her dad, ends up being Anna's dad,
Yes.
right? How long is he here before he gets married? Is he here a couple of years?
Yeah. He was 24 when they got married.
But he came to America when he was how old?
I think he was 21 or 22. I'm not sure.
Oh, okay. So he was here a couple of years before he got married.
And
Okay, and he worked for her dad.
yes.
So he kind of already knew of Anna, but Anna was quite younger than him, right?
Yes.
Okay. So who arranged, or how did they come to end up getting married?
Her mother and father just told her she was going to marry Philip because he was a good worker. and they were married on February 5th, 1922.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
And she had a beautiful wedding gown and a big wedding and all that.
Was Dad's parents here in America?
No.
No?
No, they were still in Europe.
Really? Did Dad's parents ever come to America?
Yes, they did. The three brothers saved enough money to send for their parents, and it was my grandma and grandpa, and then an aunt and her 14-year-old son. And the aunt was married to a Serbian soldier, and he was killed. And this boy, the 14-year-old, Adolf, I hate that name. He came, and he was my cousin, really.
Right.
Yeah.
But so when Mom and Dad do come and join their sons, right?
Yeah.
Are they still living in New Jersey at that time?
Yes, they all went to New Jersey, and then the whole entourage, both sets of grandparents and all their kids and so forth, all moved to Melvindale, Michigan.
Really?
And they lived on Flora and Dora streets, and the sons and the father, Grandpa Drum, built all their homes. They built a home for everyone. And when I was 3 years old, if my mother had something for supper that I didn't like, I'd go to my other grandma's, or I'd go to an aunt, and I traveled all around the neighborhood.
To get what you wanted to eat.
Yeah, because we were all relatives. It was fun.
It sounds like it.
Yeah, it was great.
So,
And my grandpa had a store on the corner of Oakwood and either Dora or Flora, right on the corner. And my uncles worked as carpenters. And then the crash came, so to speak, like 1929.
1920, yeah.
And everybody would put their groceries on credit, and they didn't pay because they didn't have the money. And so my grandfather and my dad went bankrupt.
Oh my goodness.
They went bankrupt. And they lost everything. They lost the store, they lost the house, they lost everything.
Oh my goodness. Because everything was in that family store at that time. So.
And they started all over again. And
they did.
And they dug themselves out. My grandfather got a job at Turnstead.
Okay.
And as an elevator operator. And my father got a job in a butcher shop. And they all seemed to pull together.
It took them a little while to do that,
yes.
though, right? Because the
I
Depression.
remember one Christmas, my sister and I both got a coloring book and crayons, and my brother got a truck. And we were happy.
That's what you got for Christmas
Yeah,
that year.
It was wonderful.
So that's how many siblings the three of you?
I have a younger brother, Philip, who's 8 years younger than me, and then I have Claudine, who's 14. I was 14 when she was born.
Whoa. Okay.
And we just loved her.
You did.
Oh, she was a doll. We all spoiled her rotten. We called her the brat. And my sister would take her to the beauty shop to have her hair done, and I made all her clothes, and we adored her. And she was a little blonde, blue-eyed, cute as a button.
So then there were 4 of you kids, right? 5? Okay.
The Joe was 2 years older, or younger than me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
there were 5.
5 of you. Okay. So it sounds like even though you lived through the Depression and things like that, things were probably kind of hard for the family because your grandfather and your dad lost their business, right?
But everybody was having problems.
Mm-hmm.
You know, our neighbor, in fact, I remember taking food to neighbors,
Oh, okay.
you know.
Yeah. Kind of just sharing at what
Yes,
everybody had?
Right.
Did you guys all have like gardens and stuff like that
Oh,
too?
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yeah.
So would mom can and things like that?
Oh, I can remember one time my dad brought 2 cases of pineapple that were in the store, and they were starting to go bad. And the manager says, Philip, why don't you take these home and maybe your wife can can them. So we canned all that pineapple, 2 big cases, and it was the best pineapple you ever ate in your life.
Really?
Yeah. And my sister and I helped my mother cut them up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So mom didn't work outside the house?
Never
no?
did.
Never?
Never drove a car, never worked outside of the house.
Oh my
She was just a mama.
Just a mama. So apparently, did your dad, even though he came from Austria, did he finish high school?
He only went to the 6th grade,
6th grade.
and my mother went to the 8th grade, and she went to the Catholic school.
Oh, okay. But by that time she got married, so she quit school
She
then?
graduated from the 8th grade, and that was it.
Oh, okay. So how important for schooling for your parents was it for you 5 kids to go to school?
Very important.
They made sure?
And my brother Joe definitely had to go to college. They couldn't afford to send all of us, but the boys in the Austrian German are, thought of quite highly.
Right.
And so Joe went to college.
Okay. But the girls, you girls didn't.
No, I got a job and I went to business school. I went to the Business Institute.
Okay.
And, but I took all commercial courses in school.
But you graduated high school too,
Yes,
though, right?
in
Well,
1942.
In 1942. So, 1942, and you were born in 24, so you were 18 years old in 1942. They declare war. Do you remember when?
Definitely.
Do you remember where you were and?
Pearl Harbor was my brother Joe's birthday, December 7th.
Oh my goodness.
I never will forget that.
No, absolutely
It was
not.
Joe's birthday. And I says, Mom, is Joey going to have to go to college, to a war? And she says, oh, no. Well, he did go.
He did?
He did, and he was on a dry dock between Leyte and Samar Island, and the ships would come in and they would repair them.
Oh, okay.
And he said all he did was chip and paint.
Chip and paint. When did Joe first go off to war then? You said, was it right away, or do you remember?
And I think he was 18 because they were drafting,
Okay.
and he didn't want to go in the Army, so he joined the Navy.
That's what I was going to ask you. Did he voluntarily
Oh,
go, or
yes.
did he get drafted?
No, he
volunteered.
Yes.
Okay. And Mom and Dad let him go? Unwillingly, or?
What could they do? He was going to be drafted anyway.
Okay. So let him have his choice of where
Yes.
he wants to go.
Yes.
Okay. So he chose the Marines, you
The
said?
Navy.
Navy, I'm
Navy.
sorry. Okay. So, and Joe is, you said 2 years younger?
2.5 years younger.
Younger than you.
Yeah.
So, so you're working, you must have a job at that time?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So, does Joe go off to war and enlist before you start working at Stinson, or?
I worked, when I first graduated from high school, I got a job at Buell Stamping, where they made milk cans.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked there, I don't even think it was a year, but I worked there, and my sister got a job at Stinson Aircraft, because she was almost 2 years older than me.
Okay.
And she got a job there, and she worked at Stinson Aircraft, where they put the engine on the plane,
Oh, okay.
the final assembly.
Uh-huh.
And she was making twice as much money as I was. So I thought, I think I'll go work at the defense plant. And, and everybody was switching jobs and going to, some girls went to the bomber plant. My neighbor lady went to the bomber plant. And just Stinson just sounded better to me.
Oh, okay.
And so, anyway, I went there, and they hired me, and they trained me to be a riveter.
How long of training did you go through? Do you remember?
I think a week or 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, not very long.
How did your sister feel about you coming to
Oh,
work at
she
Stinson?
wanted me to come because then everybody had drivers, and she felt better that I was with her going in a car with some strange driver.
Oh.
At Stinson Aircraft, they had a bulletin board, and it would show the different drivers and their routes and that. And so we just found somebody that lived not too far from us, and he picked us up every day.
So was it a person who actually worked at
Yes.
Stinson too?
They all worked at Stinson.
Okay. So that then the workers, Stinson knew that they could get the workers to come to work if they had a drive,
yes.
a ride.
Oh, yes, and there were lots of people that volunteered to be drivers because gas was rationed,
Mm-hmm.
and this was great.
Okay. So did you have to pay for this drive?
Yes, we paid so much a week.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you remember how much money you were paid at Stinson when you started working there?
Well, at Buell Stamping, I made $100 a month. And at Stinson, I made like $200 a month. But then we start working 10 hours a day and 6 days a week. And I was making quite a bit, yes. And my sister and I both gave my mother board money every week.
Okay.
We all paid room and board.
Okay. Because, of course, you guys are older now. You're making money.
Oh,
So you're in your 20s now, right?
yes, yes.
So do you and your sister have boyfriends or go
Well,
to
my
parties and stuff?
Yes. My kid sister, Claudine, kept track of the different boys I went out with.
Oh, you're kidding.
No, and I was very particular. If I didn't like one little thing about the guy, I'd never go out with him again. And she had a list of over 50.
Rose.
By
50?
the time I got married, I was 25. I had gone out with 50 different guys. But remember, during the war, we all wrote to I wrote to all the boys I went to school with because they were all in service, unless they were 4F and they couldn't go.
Yeah.
And when they'd come home, then they'd always want to go out on a date when they were home because to pay us back for the letters we sent them.
Oh, okay.
And so I was going out all the time. When I mean, like Saturday, I'd go out only on Saturdays because during the week it would be impossible. You work so much and you just had time to sleep and get up and go again.
Yeah, back to work again, yeah.
And
absolutely.
we had Sundays off.
Okay.
And I went out with a lot of guys on a Sunday.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But was Sunday not family day for you guys, where like you had to be home with mom and dad, go to church, and then go out afterwards, or no?
My people weren't very churchy, but my sister and I, we would go to church. My dad was Presbyterian, so we went to the Presbyterian church on Fort and Woodmere, Evangelical Presbyterian Church. And they had a German service and an English service. And we would go to the German service first with all the little old ladies, and then we'd go to the English service. And now I am one. But I could speak German to all those little old ladies.
How did?
My sister, she could speak real well.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so you would voluntarily sit through 2 church services
Yes.
every Sunday.
Yes, and Reverend Lawrence was the minister, and my sister got engaged, and the guy she got engaged to, Wally, was actually born in Berlin, Germany.
Okay.
And he came to this country when he was 2.
Mm.
And then when the war started, he really wasn't a citizen.
Right.
And so he joined the army, and he was a cook, and then he did first aid too.
Oh, okay.
So Irene was engaged to Wally all the time during the war, and it was great. But she went to the USO dances and stuff with me, but she never told Wally she went to the dances. She didn't want him to feel bad.
So where were a lot of these USO dances held for you guys?
Downtown Detroit.
And how'd you guys get down there?
Hitchhiked.
Whoa, no, come on.
We'd go down on the streetcar or the bus,
Yeah?
but then if at 12 o'clock the bus didn't come out to Taylor where we lived,
Yeah.
so then we hitchhiked. And we always had a couple of girlfriends with us, and we'd hitchhike and get a ride.
Oh my goodness. Oh.
Everybody hitchhiked during the war.
Really?
Nobody thought anything of it.
Okay.
One time a truck driver picked us up on Telegraph in Michigan, and he drove us. I lived on Van Born off a telegraph. And all four of us girls climbed in his cab of his truck, and he took us right to our door.
Really? My goodness. Now, what did your mom and dad think about you girls hitchhiking back from Detroit and stuff?
Nobody thought anything of it. It was no big thing.
No?
No. My mother was happy that I could go to a dance. She would have loved to go.
I was going to say, bring mom along next time, right?
She would have loved it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you had a pretty good childhood then in
Very
teenage
good.
years growing up
Very
and stuff?
good. Yeah, I had good parents. I had good grandma and grandpa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good neighbors, it sounds like, too.
And all my relatives, whenever we'd get together, we'd always kiss each other and hug each other. You know, it was
family then, right?
It was.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And you guys were all pretty close living together too,
yes,
right?
Yes.
So, I mean, Grandpa built the houses for everybody,
yes.
right? Wow. So you go to work at Stinson. So when do you go to work at Stinson? What year? Was it maybe, 42, 43?
It was 43.
43, okay.
43, because at 42, I was working at Buell Stamping.
Okay.
And then it was like at the end of 43.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know exactly.
No, that's okay. Yeah, that's fine. So you and your sister are working, and so you're riveting, and you have a bucker with you, or are you doing both of it yourself?
Both of it. Both things. You rivet and you hold the bar yourself. I put the side stringers on the plane. The fuselage would come through, and it was just all pipes welded together, and then I'd put the side stringers on to give it shape.
Okay.
And I'd put the window frames in.
Oh, okay.
And then and we did 6 ships a day.
Really?
And then as it was moving all along, you know.
Uh-huh.
And then the electricians would come in after I put the stringers on.
Oh, okay.
And if you didn't have your job done, then you had the electricians climbing all over you, you know, because they had to put the wires in. So we had to keep moving.
And you had about 2 weeks of training to learn how to do this.
Yes.
And keep up.
Yes.
And you're working 10 hours a day, 6 days a week.
Yeah. We worked 10 hours a day, that was 50 hours, and 4 hours on Saturday. So it was 54 hours.
Oh, okay. That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. But there's a lot of other ladies also working in the plant too, right?
Everybody was working the same. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Were there at Stinson? Did you have the specific group of women? Were they all were you all white? Did you have some black ladies working with you? Did you have little people working at Stinson?
No, we didn't.
No?
We didn't.
Okay.
Not like the bomber plant, they had the little people, yeah. No, a Stinson plane that I built was called a Flying Jeep.
Okay.
And then there was another line that had the 1819, and that had one stretcher in it. And my plane, the one that I worked on, had a camera, and it was a reconnaissance plane, and they'd go in before a battle or after a battle and take pictures.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you knew the difference between what you were building on your line and what...
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you knew how important all of that was for our guys, too.
Well, they'd go in before a battle to see what they were going to run into,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
And, yeah, it was...
Do you know why, going in afterwards, do you know why they went in, like, afterwards? Was it to see if there was any casualties?
I think so.
Or left behind or something?
I think so.
Okay, okay.
And
So,
then my brother-in-law, that my sister was engaged to during the war, he was in the 7th Army, and he was fighting his own cousins
from Austria.
from Germany.
From Germany,
He
oh
was
yeah, from Germany, yeah.
He was fighting his own cousins.
How did he feel about that?
Terrible.
Oh my God.
Terrible.
That's got to feel terrible.
Yeah.
Especially when you sit and think of how close you were to your family that lived right next door or down the street from you.
And then you're fighting against them. Yeah.
How did he know it was his family, though? How did he find out? I mean, do you know?
Well, everybody just knew. All the boys in Germany had to go in the army, whether they wanted to or not. I mean, they all went, and they started quite young, too.
Yeah, yeah.
And so he knew he was fighting his relatives.
That's got to be heartbreaking for him. Very heartbreaking for him. So you talked about writing to your neighbors, your classmates who were in the war and came back and stuff. Did they write you guys back letters and stuff too?
Yes, they sent me all kinds of money from Japan and different places, you know. And they take a dollar bill and tear it in half and send you the half of it until we meet again.
Oh, how nice. Yeah. Do you know how often or how long it would take for you guys to get letters back and forth? Do you think it took a long time?
Quite some time, yes.
Did it?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. But did you still keep doing that when you were working too?
Oh, yes.
You still kept it up?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Is there anybody special at this point in time, though, that comes into your life yet? Or no, you're still not, you don't have a special boyfriend?
I had crushes on different ones.
You did? Well, hey, you had 50 of them. Come on. There was a couple you kind of had your eye on, huh? What happened with
that?
But
I didn't meet my husband until he got out of service.
Okay.
He was a pilot in the Army Air Force during the war. And after the war, I went to work at the gas company. And this fellow asked me to go out New Year's Eve, and I did. And we went to the Grandy Ballroom. And his cousin was there with an entourage of people. and at midnight, everybody was kissing everybody else, and I wasn't going to kiss all these guys I didn't know. So, and his cousin said to him, my husband said to his cousin, he said, "What a deadbeat you brought." Meaning me. And I didn't like him, and he didn't like me.
Okay.
And I didn't go out with him till like 2 years later.
2 years. Now, did he keep pestering you, or
no?
Or you guys went your own ways for a while?
Yeah, and then he walked in the gas company. I worked in a Werner branch, and he walked in one day and said, "Will you want to ride home? I'm going out to my aunt's, and she lives close to you." And so I took a ride home, and then that started it.
But 2 years later, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. But I hear you did some other exciting things when it was probably before you got married, right? Didn't you do a couple of other exciting things?
Well, the girls at the gas company, we chartered a plane and went to New Orleans for the Mardi Gras.
Whoa,
And
really?
50 girls went on the plane, and Oh, gosh.
Well, it sounds like you lived a very exciting and full life.
Yeah. My sister and I roller skated all the time, and that's where she met her husband, at the roller rink.
At the roller. Well, you got to find something
In
to do, right?
Lincoln Park roller rink.
Okay.
And yeah, we had some fun.
And then did I hear that maybe Mom or you girls made a lot of your own dresses too?
I made all my own clothes. My sister and my mother didn't like to sew.
Okay.
And when my little sister started kindergarten, I made all her dresses.
Oh, okay.
And every week I was sewing something new. Yeah, I sewed all the time.
So did you do it from a pattern or you just figured it out yourself?
No, my girlfriend Bernice and I, on Saturdays, we'd go downtown and we went to Crawley's and we bought material, and they gave classes. They gave classes in tailoring, in sewing, and upholstering, and we were going to classes all the time.
Wow.
Yeah, and Bernice got into making fur coats, and she got in the fur business, and yeah, we sewed quite a bit.
Wow. So you were able to outfit the family,
Yes.
so to speak, right?
Yes.
Did you make shirts and pants for dads and brothers?
I made shirts for my husband because in later years, we joined square dancing club, and I made my dresses, and then I'd make him a shirt to match mine.
Oh,
To
okay.
match my material, you know.
Yeah.
And I'd make him a square dance shirt.
Oh, how nice. Nice. But there's still another thing you're not telling me about that you
What?
did. You had to go. You went for a photo shoot, didn't you? What did you
Yes.
do? Come on.
My sister sent my picture to the Times, and they called me to come in and pose for them for a pinup girl on the back page of the Times. And I had to have a two-piece bathing suit, which I didn't have, and my girlfriend loaned me hers because my mother wouldn't let me buy one. And I had my picture taken, and then it was on the back page of the Times for that 1 week. You know, every week they had a new pinup girl,
Right.
and I was the one that week.
So you were the week of whatever it was.
Yes.
Pinup girl of the week here, right? In a two-piece bathing suit.
And then it says, send the picture to your servicemen or your brothers and that, you know. And so they sent my picture to different guys that I knew, and then I'd get letters back. And so,
The mail came in pretty quick then,
yes,
didn't it? Well, now I know how you got to 50 guys,
Yeah.
right? Hey, did any of your sisters decide to date any of the guys you said no to? Is that why your
No,
sister was keeping track of
because
them?
my sister was engaged and she wouldn't, and my other sister was too young.
Too young. Maybe did she learn lessons from you though, probably, about what kind of guy?
She only went with one fellow, and he was wonderful. He was wonderful. She couldn't have married a better guy.
Ah,
And she only had that one fellow, Jerry.
yeah.
Yes.
Well, that's good. Sounds
Yeah.
like you maybe taught her a few things then, huh? How to pick the right guy or something, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So it sounds like I hear, you end up getting married, but not till 2 years after the war's over, about,
Well,
right? Somewhere
I was 25, so it was 1950.
1950.
1950.
Okay. So yeah, the war's over for
Oh,
5
yeah.
years. So what do you do when you stop working at Stinson?
I go to the gas company,
You go to the gas
and I
company.
was an interview clerk.
Oh, okay.
and I worked there.
Okay.
And I worked there until I got married in 1950.
And you still stayed at home with mom and dad, or were you living on your own at this time?
I was at home.
You
We
stayed at
never had apartments or anything. We always stayed home till we got married.
It was probably easier and cheaper,
Oh, it was
right?
wonderful. I loved living at home.
Yeah.
My mother was a good cook,
Okay.
and my dad, he would make barbecued chicken and all kinds of stuff on Sunday, you know.
Yeah.
And one of our friends came home from service, and my dad got a 90-pound pig and put it on a spit. He had a big barbecue in our yard, and he put it on a spit at 4 o'clock in the morning, and he roasted that pig all day long. And then we had this fellow was Donald Basner. He came home from service, and we had this big party for him, and his parents wanted the pig.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that was a good celebration.
Yeah, it sounds like it. It sounds like it.
And my dad made the pig.
So after, like you were talking about earlier though, you lived through a depression, you and your family, so you know how hard things were.
Oh, yeah.
And then you and your family, you picked your dad and your mom, they picked up their bootstraps and they rebuilt.
Oh, yes,
right?
yes.
So you kids are also, by staying home and paying room and board, you're helping mom and dad out still.
Right.
But you're helping yourself out too, because you're probably saving some money, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I bought a bedroom outfit.
So you were able to buy things
Oh,
that you
yes.
wanted.
Yes. And, when I got married, I had a bedroom outfit.
Oh, okay. Well, that's,
Yeah.
hey,
Yeah.
you can't beat that, right?
No.
You start out with something already.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So, husband, what's your husband's name again?
Ray.
Ray, okay, that's right. Is Ray from the local area too?
He worked at Ford Motor Company,
Okay.
and he was a buyer. And at the central office on the American Road,
Mm-hmm.
and he worked there. Was it 39 years? He started out in Ford grade school and went right up the ranks. And during the war, they didn't want to leave him go because he was in quality control and he was inspecting the Jeeps that they were making. And it was toward the end of the war, he finally says, I'm going. So he joined the Air Force. And it was against the company policy, but they couldn't do anything about it. But he was, what was it they had? They had these things that if the company needed you, you didn't have to go.
Yeah, you could get held back.
Yeah.
Because you
But
were
he-
needed there.
Yeah. But he didn't want to be held back. And finally, he joined the service and went to San Antonio
Oh.
at Randolph Air Force, Randolph Field.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So how long was he really in the service then? Even
Not about a year and a half, I think, not very long.
Oh, okay. And when he came back, was he able to get his job back at Ford?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he would be one of those, like you're talking about. I've heard some men, they could either not go into service because maybe they had a disability,
Yes.
or maybe if they were like the oldest child, sometimes the oldest male
Yeah.
in a family, or at a certain age, they wouldn't make them go. But your husband had a special quality working at Ford that they wanted to keep him.
Right.
But he said no, and
A
he fought it.
deferment. That's
A
what
deferment,
they
yeah.
gave him, a deferment. He didn't want a deferment. He wanted to go. he could fly a Piper Cub. He took airplane lessons at Selfridge Field,
Okay.
and he joined the National Guard, and he wanted to go.
He wanted to go. Okay. So if he ends up down in Randall Field, does he end up going overseas anywhere or nothing?
No, it was toward the end of the war, and they used him as a guinea pig. They gave him all kinds of tests to take, like if he could be in an airplane that was turning upside down all the time, and how long he could last that way, or they used him as medical experiments.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
How did that affect him? Did it affect him in the end?
No, and he ran track for the Air Force, and he bowled on their league, and did all that.
So he had a good time even though he was in the service.
Yeah.
Okay.
He loved San Antonio.
Wow, okay. But he was originally here from the local Melvindale area and stuff
from
too?
Dearborn.
Dearborn. Oh, okay. Okay. So you get married in 1950. You get married in 1950. So, and how many children do you have?
Two.
Two? What do you have, two boys?
Two boys. Randall
Randall. Hey, I wonder where that name came from.
and Roger. Yeah.
Okay.
But then when Roger was 6 months old, my husband came down with bulbar polio.
Oh,
And he
okay.
was sent to Herman Kiefer Hospital in iron lung.
In an iron lung. Oh my goodness.
And he, nothing went down his throat for 6 weeks. His throat was paralyzed.
Oh my goodness.
And so I had the two little kids, and he was in the hospital, I think, about 8 months. And then finally he came home, but half of his throat was always paralyzed. He couldn't drink a glass of water down like you and I.
Uh-huh.
And he had to eat very slowly.
Okay.
And he never gained a lot of weight because he couldn't eat that quick.
Right.
Yeah.
So he had to probably eat a lot of smaller meals
Yes.
throughout the day.
Yeah.
So he never really fully recovered from that at all.
No, but you'd never know it. He went back to Ford's, got his old job, and he ended up being a machinery buyer. He bought conveyors and big presses,
Okay.
and yeah, he was fine, and he never complained.
No.
Never, ever.
No. So do you stay in the local area and raise your kids?
Yes, we lived in Allen Park.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And then we moved to Outer Drive, and we lived in that house for 32 years.
Whoa, okay. So yeah.
Outer Drive and Allen Road.
Okay. Kind of familiar with that area? Yeah, absolutely. So it sounds like to me that you and Ray readjusted to the life
Right.
after the war and things like that.
Yes.
Did you guys travel and do a lot of things with the kids and
We
stuff like
came
that?
up north to Berkshire's Resort when Roger was 2.
Okay.
And every year we would say to the boys, would you like to go to Texas? Would you like to go somewhere else? Well, before Berkshire's or after Berkshire's, they would never give up Berkshire's. We were on Big Manistee Lake. We had a boat, a little boat. They fished, they swam, they loved it. And for 60 years we went to Berkshire's.
Did you go to the Texas or anywhere else? Or no? Was it
Not-
always...
After my husband retired, we took a 6-week trip out to San Diego, but we went to San Antonio. Oh gosh, I love San Antonio.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you still ended up coming back to Michigan, huh?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So that's how you end up here in the Newberry area,
Yeah, because
right?
we spent so many summers here.
You got to know the area. You really enjoyed
We
it.
went to that same church here in town for 50 years.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So your husband does retire from Ford,
Yes.
right? And you guys, that's when you move up here
Yeah.
and do that.
Uh-huh.
How nice. And so do you think the boys liked it actually moving up here and
My boy is my older son came. He was a teacher, and he quit his job in Woodhaven and came up here. He didn't have his job, and he applied at the high school, and they took him as a sub, and pretty soon he had a full job.
wow.
And he worked for, I think it was 18 or 20 years. He's retired.
Yeah. So they must have really enjoyed
They-
that time up
yeah,
here.
and my younger son lives in Wolverine, which is still up,
Yeah.
not across the bridge, but
Yeah.
yeah, and he was he worked in a printing company. He graduated from Ferris in printing management, so he worked in Petoskey.
Oh, okay. Okay. So you're all kind of up north people now, huh?
Right.
Well, it sounds to me like you've had a very full and a great life.
I think I had a wonderful life.
And I still think you still do have a wonderful
Yes,
life.
I was poor, but I didn't know it.
You don't think that the war affected your life at all, do you?
Well, in some ways it did. It made us more aware of food when you couldn't have it,
Oh, yeah.
you know.
Mhm.
And we had all our ration stamps, and our family seemed to have plenty of food, but some small families didn't. And so we would give them our stamps.
Oh, okay.
We could share our stamps, you know, with other people.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, and then all the boys that I went to school with that I lost.
You lost a
I'll
lot
never
of them?
forget that.
Yeah.
Never. Yeah, it affected me.
Yeah.
Some of the really nice guys that we lost. It was such a shame.
Mm-hmm.
And and then my one girlfriend, her brother was killed in Saipan, and I'll never forget. And then the boys that my mother's best friend, her son was killed, and they shipped his body back in a casket, but it had a bubble on it. And then when we went to the funeral home, we could actually see him in the casket.
Really?
That was weird.
Yeah.
There was a bubble. I think it was glass or plastic, and you could see Sonny, we called him Sonny, and you could see him, and that was awful.
Oh,
It
my
was
goodness.
awful.
Yeah, that would be terrible to see that.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it have been better to just be
Just
closed
right.
and,
right.
and not have to see
And
him
my-
that way?
Yeah, my husband always says, I don't want an open casket. No way.
Yeah. Yeah. There's things like that'll tell you what
Well,
you want.
He
Yeah.
wanted to be cremated. No one in our family had ever been cremated. And I says, Ray, he says, that's what I want. And I sprinkle my ashes in Big Manic Lake. And we had him cremated. And my two boys went out in their boat, and they sprinkled him in the 3 fishing holes that he fished in, and that was it.
So you obliged Ray's decision.
Definitely, I thought that's what he wanted, so I go against it.
Yeah. That makes sense. That makes sense. So the community, you must have lost quite a few good friends
Oh,
and
yes.
good guys from school.
Yes.
And at that time too, your high school probably didn't have a huge graduating class, right? It was small.
We had 300.
300, really?
300.
No way.
Southwestern High School on Fort and Waterman. 300 graduates.
Back then,
In 1942.
300. That's kind of unheard of, isn't it?
It was wonderful.
Well, no, but I would never have thought it would be 300.
And I worked on every reunion from 20 years to 50 years. I worked on every reunion.
Really? And every year, I'm sure, or every 10 years, it got less and less people.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Which is terrible to see,
Yeah.
too, right? Yeah. So, I think in closing, one of the questions I'd like to ask you is, how do you in general feel about war? Living through what you've lived through, the Depression, you've lived through World War II, you've now lived through the Korean War, you've lived through the Vietnam War, you've seen the Gulf Wars and all these other different name wars that I certainly can't even remember right now.
War is hell.
Hell, yeah.
War is horrible.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to mention our new president, but I hope he doesn't pull us into war.
We don't need another war, do we?
No.
No, absolutely not.
And the children suffer. I mean, they have killed so many children. It's just, you can't even imagine.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many things that are happening with this global warming, and it just worries you.
So war, in your opinion, is total hell,
Yes.
and it's not necessary.
No. No.
We should find a better way to solve some of these problems,
Yes.
right?
Yes. It's horrible.
It's horrible. I agree with you. I
We
don't
should-
believe we need to see another war,
No.
any war at all.
No. My brother was in the Korean War,
Okay.
and the other one was in the Second World War. And the one that was in the Korean War, he got medals that we saw in the paper. He got these medals, and he went behind enemy lines and strung communication wires. And in Korea, right at that DMZ line,
Uh-huh, yeah.
and he went behind the line in Korea and strung the wires. And he never talked about it. And just recently, I says, Phil, how could you volunteer to go behind enemy lines and do this? He says, I didn't volunteer. My commanding officer said, do it, and I did it.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Ah,
And he was young. He was 19 at that
19
team.
for the Korean War.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, because he's 9 years younger than you, right?
8 years.
8
young.
years. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll bet you. And is he still with us?
Yes.
He is.
Yes. He lives in Taylor on Woolfield, right off Ecorse Road. You know where that is.
Rose, Rose, Rose. Okay. If you, in closing, after talking to me all day today, and I really appreciate you coming and letting me hear your story, because documentation of you living through World War II, working in the defense industry during World War II, we need the American narrative to be accurate and complete, and it's colorful. The things that you told me that you did, I mean, your feelings and stuff, it gives us a sense of what things were like back then.
Yeah.
And it's accurate and it's truthful.
Yes.
And we need this for future generations to see and hear. So when in saying this, I want to say that on behalf of the Yankee Air Museum in Belleville, Michigan, we actually salute you for your patriotic duty that you did for our country at that time. And you're my true heroine in doing this, and I so greatly appreciate this. But is there anything else you'd like to add that maybe I didn't ask you or I didn't talk about that you think that maybe something we should know? Is there anything that you want to add to this whole story?
Well, people worked together. Everybody seemed to help the other guy. There was no trying to get ahead of your neighbor or anything. You just wanted to help everyone. And the country was so close as far as feelings go, because everybody was going through a difficult time. And there was a lot of love.
Mm-hmm.
And you never would miss a homecoming of a serviceman. You know, you'd be there and cheering him on.
Right.
And everybody seemed to be really comfortable with each other.
Right, right.
You know.
Do you think we are today?
No,
No.
no,
Kind of sad, isn't it?
no.
Yeah.
I love this town.
Yeah.
It's small, and there's no trying to get ahead of the other guy. Everybody's in the same boat here, and it's fine.
So it makes you feel almost like you did when you were
Back
growing
then.
back then,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So it's probably another reason you settled here in the Newberry
Yeah,
area.
yeah. And my neighbor is 102, and she's lovely, and you know, it's a good place to live.
It sounds like it. It sounds like it. You got quite a lot of activity that goes on around you. 4
Yes.
seasons too, right?
Yes.
Or do you guys only have 2 seasons here?
Well, my son says we won't have as much snow because everything is freezing over, and we won't have the snow effect. You know,
Oh, okay.
the lakes are starting to freeze over.
So you won't have as much snow, but it's
Yeah.
just colder then.
Cold.
Oh, okay. Well, that'll
Yeah.
be good. Well, Rose, again, thank you so much for taking time with me today
Yeah.
and talking about your work at Stinson Aircraft in Wayne, Michigan. Thank you again.
And thank you so much. I'm good that it's going on in history. I'm really happy for that because it would all be lost.
We can't let it get lost.
No.
No. No.
And I really praise you for doing your job.
Well, thank you. I
Yeah.
enjoy it.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. I wouldn't come out and do this, I don't think, if I didn't enjoy it
Yeah.
as much as I do. So
Yeah,
thank
I think
you.
a lot of you, Lorna.
Thank you. Thank you so much.